The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Divisional Round NFL DraftKings picks and preview 4-game slate. Here to help me break this all down, you may know him from the ranking show throughout the year. Not normally talking about DraftKings, but there are no more ranking shows. We can't just leave the Athletic's Jake Ciely out in the cold. I have no idea how cold it is where you are right now, but it's fucking freezing where I am. So how cold is it for you?
It was in the 40s yesterday. I'm assuming it's pretty much somewhere. But the thing was, it's just 2 days ago, we had freaking 68 degrees. It keeps mixing in. And now I'm complaining about 68 degrees. Oh, actually, it's 39 right now. I'm not complaining. Oh, you got to do the math because you got to convert it to Celsius. It's not that I'm not concerned about 68. It's just the fact that it gets so hot in my upstairs room. So I have to turn the air conditioner on in January.
Oh, so sorry, Jay. Turn it on your air conditioner in January. Now, Celsius-wise, today I walked outside with the wind chill. I believe it's like minus 28. That's not good. That's bad news.
Wait, that's not Celsius, is it?
That would be Celsius, yes.
That's Celsius. So what's that for us? Like 0?
Yeah, 0, -2 or something like that. So I worry about this New England game on the weekend that it just might be frozen.
See, we're going to get to that, and I actually think that helps the Chargers.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I guess we will get into that. I do want to let everyone know, if they want to get into a draw for $20 DK, all you needs to do is smash the like button, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me which defense you are going to be playing on this 4-game slate for the divisional round, and boom, you're in the draw, 20 DK bucks. I'll be announcing the winners on Monday's golf show or next week's football show, or maybe both, but definitely on the golf show when I reveal all the winners of the previous week. So, hey, there's a reason to tune into the golf show, besides the fact that I'm going to presume we hit a winner this week. I don't know that for sure, but yeah, we'll see. So let's jump right into this. Let's start with running backs, because I find that running back is either super easy or super confusing depending on how tricky that you want to get this week. So if you go to the very top of the pricing, both of the running backs in the same game are the two highest priced dudes. So you got Zeke coming in at $8,200. Then you got Todd Gurley, who's kind of banged up, but not really. We don't really know. He's $8,000. Kamara is 7.3. Melvin Gordon, who is a bit banged up, is 62. Then you have Marlon Mack, and then that awful Mark Ingram at 52, Damian Williams at 51. That's what we're looking at in terms of the overall top running back pricing. So just looking at it, like, Zeke's always a good play because he gets involved in the running, he gets involved in the passing game now. He's going to get all these touches, even if they are a 7-point underdog in this spot, that maybe he can pick up 8 to 10 targets if they're playing comeback. And if not, then he's the one doing the damage from the Cowboys side of the ball, because you can run on the Rams no problem. Do you just start with Zeke and worry about the rest later?
I think that you kind of do, because it's not just cash, it's tournament. Like, I think a really intriguing in tournament play is the stacking the Cowboys defense with Zeke, because you want to put the defense with the running back. And if you think that's an upset, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I think that if you're looking for a lineup that makes the most sense, whether it's cash, whether it's tournament, you kind of start with Zeke and find your way to work around that, because it's not just, as you mentioned, he's in the game flow, whether they're behind the game plan, the game script, whatever word you want to give, he's involved. So you look at that, and then you look at the fact that what is the Rams' run defense? It's pretty poor. You look at that front, and you're like, oh my God, nobody's going to run in the Rams. And for the entire year, pretty much almost everybody did, because they funnel people up through the middle, and somebody with Zeke's talent is going to be able to get through this defense.
So what do we do with Gurley on the other side of the ball then? Do we believe in the health? Because it's tough to run on the Cowboys defense anyway. It seems like a bad spot. Plus you have the injuries. Then this is where I said that, if you really want to get tricky, Zeke just very clearly is the better play here, but 7-point favorites, run heavy script. We saw Marlon Mack absolutely gash the Cowboys defense the last time that they were on the road and really got blown out. So you can run on them in certain circumstances, I guess. And if you do have to really worry about the passing game for the Rams, that maybe you can't overload the box and just stop Gurley. Maybe he can get involved in the passing game as well. It seems a whole lot dicier with him over Zeke.
It is, and there's a lot of ways this can go wrong too, because let's say what you would want game script wise is the Cowboys defense falls apart early, gives up some big plays, maybe one to Brandon Cooks, and all of a sudden they're down 14, 17-0, and now they're looking to grind out the clock, the Rams. Well, you just mentioned, how healthy is he? Do they, with the success of CJ Anderson, do they say, you know what, we've got this game in control, let's save Gurley for next week, and let's ride CJ Anderson a little bit? So I'm pretty much fading almost entirely on Todd Gurley. I think Todd Gurley for me is more of a tournament play, and the fact that you get the one scenario is it's a close, high scoring game the entire way. And I think if you're looking at this game, that's almost like the least likely thing to happen.
So with Kamara, Melvin Gordon, Marlon Mack is the next three on the board. I don't know why I'm worrying about Marlon Mack because it's such a great matchup against this brutal Chiefs run defense, but I just worry that they fall behind by 14 and then he gets like 8 touches.
That's why you're worried about him because everybody's looking at last week and they're like, what happened to Nyheim Hines? That's been the entire situation this year. It's Nyheim Hines, when they're passing more, gets more work and Marlon Mack gets less. Not Marlon Mack's going to get written out completely, but if they're behind, if they're passing a lot, you're going to see more Hines. I think Hines is a very interesting play this week for people looking for a tournament or like people that a low ownership because people are going to be reactionary to last week and be off Hines. And they're going to look at the matchup and say, you can run running backs do well against the Chiefs all year long. Well, it's pass catching running backs that really do well against the Chiefs. So I think I'm with you. I'm almost like hesitant to use Mac at all in the tournament because I feel like he's going to be so high owned from last week that he needs a last week game. And I don't see that game happening this week unless the Colts shock us all and come out and start with a 14-0 lead or even actually 21-0 lead like they did last week.
And a lot of people are jumping on this Colts bandwagon against the Chiefs too. Like it's -5.5 right now. The money is just flooding on the Colts. People are thinking that they're going to win outright. I actually like the Chiefs to kind of beat them up in this game. Everyone kind of forgets how good the Chiefs are. I
said 34-21.
Yeah, that's sort of the same range. I think that, especially with the way that how good the Colts defense has looked over the past 6 weeks, and someone even released this. I think it was Ryfro, so I don't want to screw this up because the quote tweeted a stat. It just popped up right before we came on, and I thought it was pretty interesting what he had pointed out. Yeah, so Chris Wessling said that since week 7, the Colts rank number 1 in the following. They're 10-1. They have a 131 point differential, 15.5 points allowed per game. They've only allowed a total of 8 sacks, and their third down percentage is almost 50%. But here's what they faced: Derek Anderson and the Bills, the Raiders, the Jags twice, the Titans with Blaine Gabbert twice, the Dolphins, the Texans, Cowboys, and Giants. They haven't seen the Chiefs yet.
No, they haven't seen the Chiefs yet. And remember, people were talking about the Colts defense before, and then they've led up some pretty terrible games. And we've also seen the Colts offense, as good as that offensive line has played. How about that stinker at the end of the year to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, which had been hit and miss all year long. And that was one of the weeks that it hit their defense being. But I just think that I'm with you I think there's way too much love going the Colts way. It's what we see every single time. It's the reactionary sports. It's 1 week and everybody's opinions are swinging the other way.
So I guess the big thing would be Nyheim Hines was very popular last week. He let everybody down. A big goose egg, big 0 points. He's only $3,300 this week. Yeah. It's a nice spot to play recency bias against everyone in the field that if you do think that the Chiefs are going to win, yeah, of course you want to bring it back with T.Y. Hilton or potentially Inman or Eric Ebron, whoever it may be in that game, because they'll probably pile up some very easy yardage at some point if you do think the Chiefs are going to win. But I'm kind of with you that Hines would be the one on the field, I would think, if they're down in this game.
He has been for pretty much the entire year. And even with Marlon Mack healthy, because obviously we're throwing out the games when Marlon Mack wasn't, because that's a whole different scenario. We have a healthy Mack. Even with a healthy Mack, when they're down, he gets more work. Now, are we talking 15, 20 touches? Absolutely not, unless Mack gets hurt again. But we're looking at the fact that we're talking PPR scoring. We're talking about being down. We're talking about the upside. This is you know what? For the people that don't want to be on the bandwagon with everybody else and their brother who is going to own James White, his ownership percentage might be 80% this week. If you want the pivot off James White and now you get to save money too, Nyheim Hines could be the James White of this week that people want James White to be.
Well, do you really think that James White is going to be that popular? Because I guess it does make sense that, hey, it's a great pass rush. Brady's going to have to get the ball out early. They're not just going to be able to run up the gut with Sony Michel over and over and over, although that's what we kind of think that they're going to do, that it's just going to be dump off city to James White. Is that the logic behind it?
It's people have the numbers from weeks 14 through 16 last year with Tom Brady or this past season. And you have all the James White work, the past time that they faced the Chargers, people tweeting about his price and the workload. And this is how you attack the Chargers. It's just, there's so many people talking about it that I think it's just going to turn into this. It's basically the who you're talking to effect. And all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants, everybody's using them. I'd still use them in cash. No problem. I just feel like he's going to be so overweight in ownership that in a tournament, I might steer clear and just hope that we get a Sony Michel 2 touchdown game. Obviously, I still love James White, and because of all those reasons, but at the same time, I would hope that he doesn't come through. He only scores 8 or 9 points, and then something like, whether it's Eckler or it's what we're talking about here with Nyheim Hines, something like that happens, and you just have the leg up on everybody else.
I don't know if James White is going to be that popular is the whole thing. Right now,
Really?
per fansharesports.com, it's still pretty early in the week. We're, in full disclosure, we're discussing this on a Thursday afternoon, so a lot can change. New news can come in, but he's 7th in tags among running backs right now because I think that so many people are going to start their teams with Zeke and then Marlon Mack that you might just not be able to afford him unless you want to pay down at all the other positions. And I don't think that's going to be the case. Right now, it kind of strikes me like Darren Sproles might be the guy that ends up with a ton of ownership as the pass catching back.
If he stays in that range, then I'm going to own a hell of a lot of James White. Again, I guess I'm judging more on the conversations on Twitter, even seeing all the CBS guys and Yahoo guys and our DFS people that you and I both follow, and just everybody talking about him. And in my mind, when there's that many people talking about him, I just assume their followers do like listen to us, and maybe they're just the same way. They don't listen to us, they don't listen to them. So as of right now, that's how I felt, but I would happily be wrong, because then I will put James White and keep him in all of my lineups.
Well, Zeke is by far the most tagged guy and most talked up guy going into the week. Gurley's number 2, but it'd be hard to own both of them. So I think that you're going to see Gurley come in under owned. The one guy that's sort of sneaking through the cracks is Kamara. He's expensive, and no one really knows what the situation is here. But against the Eagles defense, you would want a pass catching running back over like the Mark Ingram between the tackles guy. So you might be able to sneak through Alvin Kamara it's not going to be low ownership because it's only a 4-game slate, but Zeke's going to be like 60% owned. Kamara only might be like 15, 20% owned. That I'm still worried about the spot that Ingram might eat into it, but they might just say, screw it. Kamara's our best back. Let's use him. It's playoff time.
Yeah, I actually built one lineup already with a Saint stack being Breeze, Kamara, and then a wide receiver, which we'll get to when we get to the wide receivers. But
Ted Ginn.
I think he's there you go.
Woo! You know I'm always in on Ted Ginn.
It makes too much damn sense. Nobody's talking about, like, I just feel like I'm going to be I'm either going to have way too much. Well, I can't have way too much to Ted Ginn because I almost have like 100%. He's going to rule my week, whether it's good or bad. It's going to come down to Ted Ginn. But when it comes down to Kamara, I think you're right. 100% he's the one that he's kind of I used to write, or I still do. My article that I write in DFS is called Blind Spots. It's for the footballers. And it's kind of like Kamara. It's when they're sitting in that spot where either by pricing, ownership, situation, whatever it might be, people just skip right past the name and just don't even look at it. And Kamara is kind of there because he's not that top end with the Gurley and the Zeke, as you mentioned. He's not cheap enough that it's like, hey, I really like the upside play. It's the Eagles' run defense for most of the year have been really good. As you mentioned, you want a pass catching running back against them. So he's just kind of in that range where it's, that's kind of how everybody reacts to him. And I think that you're going to get him where if Kamara has a Kamara game, yeah, I'm with you. I want a couple lineups with him.
Gordon is $6,200, but he's dealing with this knee injury. Do you roll the dice and gamble that he's okay and he sees the Melvin Gordon workload, or at least he gets the very valuable goal line touches plus a little bit more? Because even if he scored 2 touchdowns and he ended up with like 10 yards rushing and nothing receiving, it's really not going to pay off his price tag, especially versus the other big names that are up there. But if he can play even 65% of the snaps, get all the goal line work, and catch a few passes out of the backfield, he could be a slate breaker because of the touchdown upside.
See, my problem is if last week isn't even a slate breaker. And that's kind of what I'm worried about is all we get is last week, even with that touchdown because of the injury. And that's why my initial reaction, as soon as you said it, was just, And the thing is too, is at the beginning of the playoffs, I did all my picks over on The Athletic, and I took the Chargers to upset the Patriots. I know they don't win there. I know Philip Rivers doesn't beat blah, blah. The way they win this game is like 23-17. They're not winning the game if it gets into the 30s. They're not winning a game 12-10. It's just, that's going to be in that range where the defense is what steps up. They kind of control the game like they did last week, and Melvin Gordon gets leaned on some. I know you said like 60-65%. Yes, that would be nice. But I think given what we saw last week and the continuous injury history, you're hoping for 2 touchdowns. Do you really see him getting over 100 total yards?
I don't. And I guess that leads me to, if we don't think that that's going to happen, would you play Austin Eckler or would you just avoid that backfield?
I would have what the only way I'm touching this backfield is more so tournament than cash, obviously, but it would be
You
I'm
know what?
putting
Let's not even worry about cash games. No one wants to play a
okay.
4-game slate cash game.
Yeah,
Tournaments only.
nobody wants it. Okay. And then the only way I'm doing it is maybe like 10%. So like if I have 10 lineups, one lineup would probably have Gordon, and then maybe like one would have Austin Eckler, and then the other 8 are going to be the ones that I'm looking at my main guys and mixing into that up and kind of getting different mixtures there. But I'm not going to have a lot of lineups with these guys.
You mentioned James White earlier. That I don't think he's going to be quite as highly owned as you do. But what does that do to like Burkhead and Sony Michel? Are those guys you would want to play, or only as a pivot spot off of White? If White's not going to be super highly owned, White would be the one to play, right?
Yeah, I would definitely go with White. And you can keep him at that 7 spot, as you mentioned, with the tags, then yeah, he's the one that I want to play. All the reasons are there. You just, like you mentioned, the matchup with what the Chargers give up, if a pass catching running backs, this situation what Tom Brady's been using with his pass catching running backs, not just James White, and it was going back to last year too. All the numbers, all the projections, all the situations point to this being a James White game. Obviously, maybe if they get up and Philip Rivers turns into interception Rivers and all of a sudden they're up, similar to the Colts were last week, 14-0, 21-0, and then you get a Sony Michel game, that's your pivot. But that, again, these are scenarios you're hoping to have the pivot pay off. Like there's not a scenario where you're saying it shouldn't be James White. It's just if this happens, then I get a non-James White game.
Do you have any feel for what's going to happen in the Chiefs' backfield? Because everyone's kind of plunging on Damian Williams because he's looked really good, but Spencer Ware should be back. And him sitting out week 17 kind of leads me to believe that he might be the lead back.
I honestly don't think he is, only because I don't think he's looked good at all since he's come back. I think he's looked slow, and that's my biggest concern. And Spencer Ware, he's not saying that Spencer Ware was ever Austin Eckler elusiveness, but the fact is he looks like he's not 100%. And I get what you're saying is, why risk it in week 17? But you can't ignore what Damian Williams has done back there. People are just dismissing it. I don't get it why Damian Williams has pretty much been Kareem Hunt since he took over. I mean, that's how good he's been. And people are just like, yeah, he's been doing a good job. No, he's been doing an excellent job in replacing Kareem Hunt. So why would you go back to Spencer Ware when he's looked slow in that first game? He's looked slow in the time that he's been out there. Even if healthy, I think that he'll have a share, but I don't see it getting into a timeshare where it's a split 50-50 or even the lead. I think this is going to be Damian Williams' backfield. I think Spencer Ware is looking at 35%.
So if that's the case, at $5,100, Damian Williams is one of the better spots of any running back this week. And I think that there's going to be, unless we hear Andy Reid come out and say that, you know what, Damian Williams, he's our starter. Spencer Ware will be mixed in, but yeah, we're not even going to worry about that. It's going to be our lead guy. It's going to be Damian Williams. And I think that there's enough pensiveness with people that might think like I do or might think it's more of a timeshare that I'm not sure how many people are actually going to own Damian Williams. And if it's like you say, it's like a 70-30 split or 75-25, he might be the best value of any player on this slate.
You're 100% right. And go back to the Kamara lineups, one of the things, if you want to get off the Mac Zeke train that everybody's going to be on, Kamara, Damian Williams, for I think actually it's a little bit of a savings. I think that's a terrific duo. Now, obviously, there's a situation where Ware comes out, to your point, and ends up being the lead, and all of a sudden we're like, well, I wish somebody would have told us. I just don't see them doing this. And I just don't think for the fit of what Williams has been for this team, and again, how Ware has looked even before he got hurt, I just don't see why, unless, like you said, Andrew Reid just loves Spencer Ware.
If we go below $4,500, we've both thrown out Nyheim Hines, just like I did last week, and it did not work whatsoever. I threw out Sproles last week, and one of my big things, like a lot of people were kind of discussing, like, let's play Tariq Cohen. Let's play Tariq Cohen. I was like, why wouldn't you just play Darren Sproles? He's way cheaper, and he's probably in line for exactly the same amount of work. And that ended up being the case. Sproles actually outtouched him and got 2 goal line carries that I don't know how popular he's going to get. I believe he's going to be the most popular running back from below $4,500, but it still might be worth it to play him.
It definitely would be, because
revenge situation.
I was going to joke about that. But the fact is, look, we talked at the very beginning of this season, we talked about Doug Peterson for fantasy purposes in general. We kept saying this guy loves a committee. And what were the numbers that we threw out? We were throwing out the fact that people who've got 60% of the workload or 60% of the touches, those are 2 different numbers, and both times it had happened 3 times under Doug Peterson. And all 3 times for each of them, it was Darren Sproles. Doug Peterson loves Darren Sproles, loves him as a part of this offense, loves what he brings to the table. And if you're talking about the one option who, like you said, if you're talking about the James White, the Nyheim Hines, and what you're looking for here, and Sproles can do that, let alone the fact we've already seen him score multiple times. He's somebody that you want to talk about a slate breaker. Yes, he'll be exceptionally highly owned under the 4,000 level, but you're talking about somebody who could come out of this game with 60 yards and 2 touchdowns and be the must own for every lineup that's Darren Sproles. I don't think, I know people are going to ask about, you already mentioned his name, Rex Burkhead. I'm not going that. If I'm going this low, it's Darren Sproles, and that's kind of it.
I think in this situation, just even to look at it, like Josh Adams, it's going to be tough to see him doing much against the Saints. Maybe Smallwood ends up just being the guy this week. I think Sproles, it's going to be the safest. So Hines and Sproles for me. I am somewhat intrigued by Austin Eckler at $4,500 though, because if he's healthy, I know he's going to get work. And if Gordon is a bit banged up, then he could be the guy, because no one's going to play him unless Gordon is ruled out. But it does seem like a situation against this Patriots defense where he could be highly involved. Like if they scale back Gordon's workload in the passing game, I feel like that all goes to Eckler.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's not going to be like a Justin Jackson situation. Although, you brought up Josh Adams. Well, you know who's actually been out touching him? Wendell Smallwood.
Yeah. I mean, Wendell Smallwood's more expensive too.
Yeah.
We had our run with Josh Adams. I feel like I was vindicated. He only had that one good week, and that was it.
Are you a dashboard confessional?
That's me. Let's switch to receivers. At the very top of the wide receiver pricing this week, we got Michael Thomas. It's a great spot against the Eagles. The Eagles defense all of a sudden just looks a whole lot better. And I'm not super inclined. I'd rather pay up for running back than pay up for receiver, to be perfectly honest with you. 7,900 is a bit steep. Then you got Tyreek Hill, T.Y. Hilton, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Julian Edelman, and that is your $6,000 and above range. No receiver over $8,000. Of all the guys in that tier, if you had to pay up for one of the receivers, Jake, which one would it be? Because I'm leaning Tyreek Hill.
Oh, it's Tyreek Hill for me as well. I would love to say Michael Thomas, but it's Drew Brees. It's at home, and he could throw easy 350 and 4 touchdowns, and it should be Michael Thomas, and that's going to be the call. But if you're looking at one on the slate for the fact of what Brees can do and spread things around as he always does, what a surprise if is Michael Thomas comes out with 60 yards, Ted Ginn has 2, Kirkwood has a touchdown, and that's just it for Thomas. If the Chiefs are going to do what we expect the Chiefs to do, you and I are both saying they're going to win this game, they're both going to score in the 30s, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. And it's going to be Tyreek Hill against Desir or whoever they try to line up with the Colts defense. Secondary has basically Desir and not much else. And even Desir is not that good. So to your point, when you ran down that slate of people that they faced, it's kind of like, it's why I do the APA column, and I'm not trying to pimp myself out there for anything else. It's just like, it's the adjusted points allowed. It's not just factoring what's the points allowed by position, but accounting for who they've played. And the Colts secondary, even with that, didn't rank that high because of who they played. So I have a lot of Tyreek.
Sammy Watkins is expected to be back in this game, too. It's always nice to play Tyreek Hill and Kelsey when Sammy Watkins isn't around. There's been a concentrated market share correlation when Sammy Watkins sits. Do you have any interest in Watkins? I normally don't, but I only say it because so many people are not going to play him. It'll be like a wait and see approach that you might be able to get him as the cheap piece of the Chiefs offense. Just no one has. Like, more people will probably own Chris Conley or potentially Demarcus Robinson. But if Watkins is playing, like, why not? He hasn't played in 6 weeks. He's probably healthy by this point.
He probably is, but the initial reports, we know they're not always right, and according to beat reporters and stuff like that, but initial beat reporter reports have them on the fact that he's on a snap count if he plays. So that makes me hesitate a little bit. I initially started one of my lineups with Sammy Watkins for everything you just said. That's why I started the lineup after Zeke. It was like Zeke, Watkins, and then I was like, all right, let's see where that heads me down a path. And I kind of liked it. But at the same time, when I heard that report, maybe hesitate a little bit more. If he practices in full tomorrow being Friday or even a lot today, I think that we're looking at maybe I'll move the ownership up a little bit, but you're kind of hoping for a touchdown, if at all, type of snap limit.
So the other guys above $6,000, we both like Tyreek Hill the most. Do you have a second favorite from that group?
Besides Michael Thomas? It really is Michael Thomas.
Is it Michael Thomas? I think I might like Edelman the second best.
I do like Edelman a lot if it's not the fact that I actually think the Chargers win this game. So if I'm wrong, which is very easily possible, I would like Edelman the most because that's who you're going to see. You would talk about target share and market share. And let's look what Edelman did since he came back from suspension this year. I think that's one of the more overlooked aspects too, is how good Edelman was this season. He's the piece you want. Gronkowski is toast. You look at the passing game, it's going to be Edelman, and they have no Josh Gordon anymore. And we can stop messing around with the Hogan and Dorsetts. I'm sure one of them or some other random, maybe even Cordell Patterson again, will do something. But it is Julian Edelman. Again, I just feel like this is going to be like a 23-17 type of game for the Chargers, which how good that defense is playing. They didn't get enough credit for what happened last week. That's why I'm a little bit lower than probably you are on Edelman, but it's only because I think the Chargers win.
So the top 5 in tags from fansharesports.com as of Thursday, and again, this can definitely change, people. Don't hold me to this, but it's looking like it's going to be Amari Cooper is the most tagged, then Keenan Allen, Golden Tate, T.Y. Hilton, and Michael Thomas. Those are the top 5.
And that doesn't surprise me, recency bias, although nobody, I guess, paid attention to the final 2 weeks of Amari Cooper's fantasy season and the fact that he pulled in Amari Cooper and disappointed people like he always does. So haha in your face. But that's just, I hate Amari Cooper. I don't understand why the love is here, because the interesting thing, and I forget who tweeted it out, it was probably Sharp Football or, all those analytical accounts that are out there, is that since Marcus Peters came back, that the Rams have actually run a higher percentage of zone than they did even when so first of all, it was higher than he was when he was out earlier this season. So it was this level when he was playing earlier this season. It went up when he was out, and then it came down to lower than when he was there in the first place. So it's going to be interesting, because I don't think you're worried about the shadow with Cooper, but I think that the defense in the secondary, since everybody's healthy again, is playing so well. I'm not in on Cooper. I'm just not in on Dak Prescott in general, just with the way that the mistakes he's been making. He's been very good as a real life player and helping this team win, but the way they win this game is through Zeke, and I'm not high on Cooper.
Rams guys, you got Cooks, you got Woods, and then you got Josh Reynolds. Do you have a preference between them, or is it always just Robert Woods?
It's always just Robert Woods. Obviously, Brandon Cooks can break one, but the way that the secondary has been playing, I'd rather go for the guy that I know is getting the consistent target share and work every single week.
Would you go Robert Woods over Alshon Jeffrey, who are basically the same price? Because I might like Alshon with Nick Foles.
Do you like Alshon Jeffrey versus Marshawn Lattimore? That's the question. Let's not forget, since Lattimore started off that season and said he was trying too hard and blah, blah, with all the excuses that he gave. Since that week, he's been the Lattimore, which has been, oh my God, you might want to avoid him. Now, of course, does Lattimore follow Jeffrey the entire game? Who knows? But I think I'm with you. I'm the opposite direction. I'm not with you. I was like, I'm avoiding Jeffrey altogether, honestly, because I'm worried about the Lattimore effect.
Well, if that's the case, then which of the Eagles receivers do you go to? Is it definitely Golden Tate? I mean, Aguilar started getting some usage. Goddard started popping up. Obviously, Ertz is still there.
You want the slot. It's still the entire season. You want the slot receiver. That's the one weakness for the Saints defense is no matter who it is, you want the slot receiver. And at this point, that's Aguilar. I mean, Tate was fun, and I loved seeing Tate resurrect the end of his career season-wise. But I think at this, if you're looking for the holy crap, I wish I would have owned him. Oh, if I only picked the right one, I feel like it's Aguilar. Obviously, again, this is only tournament because that's all we're talking about at this point, but it would be Aguilar for me.
Okay. Any receivers below $5,000 besides Ted Ginn, who it seems like we're both in on, that you will too be in on? Because I can see taking a shot instead of paying up for Cooper, just take the shot on Michael Gallup because he's going to get his 3 chances to run deep in this game.
So he was one of the ones. So we basically mentioned all but one so far because one was Watkins in this range, Ted Ginn. It's extreme love for him this week. More so, and don't go to Traquan Smith because Ted Ginn back means not much for Traquan Smith. You mentioned the other one. That was him. The fourth that you didn't say besides Michael Gallup is even cheaper at $3,900. And I'm kind of wondering why he's at $3,900 because as much as I love Mike Williams' talent for next year, he's still out-snapped by Tyrell Williams, and we're talking about the Patriots secondary. You're talking about somebody that could get behind that secondary. Now, granted, Tyrell Williams is 2, 3, 4 catches at most, but when he gets those 3 or 4 catches, there's a good chance one of those is going for a touchdown.
I'm with you on Tyrell over Mike for this week, especially for the price discount that you get, but any left for Travis Benjamin, another guy who could get behind the defense?
No, only because the snap share is so low. I mean, they're looking to get him involved. They got him involved in like a jet sweep and stuff like that, but it could happen. But I got to build like 25 lineups before I put Travis Benjamin in one of them.
Trying to see how often he played last week. Let's see here. Travis Benjamin, a healthy 22% of the snaps. So yeah, that's not great. Is there anyone else below 4,000? Like, if you really want to save, I think Hines is a key to unlocking a lot of savings this week. I guess Tyrell Williams could be another one. Is there any receiver down here that you would think about taking a shot on?
The only other one would be Kirkwood, just because Drew Brees at home, and it's over Traquan Smith because he's getting that kind of work, but. Again, if Kirkwood doesn't catch a touchdown, then you just threw some money away.
Tavon Austin, revenge game?
No, stop.
Okay. Let's move to quarterbacks. Only 8 of them on the slate. I guess you could technically play Taysom Hill if you really wanted to, but he qualifies as running back as well, so you can go through that. So if we go to the very top of the pricing for quarterbacks, we got Patrick Mahomes coming in at number 1, $7,000. Breeze, Luck, Rivers, Brady, Goff, Foles, Prescott. I think for me, this boils down to pay all the way up and pay for Patrick Mahomes, or pay down and pay for Nick Foles.
I think that's going to be that's going to be very, very common. And that's kind of why I'm looking to try and go a different direction with Andrew Luck or Drew Brees, depending on, do I need that extra $500? Because again, I still think we went through the whole Chiefs scenario, but if you're looking for the ownerships of who are the 2 quarterbacks that could near Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we saw Andrew Luck do it once or twice this year already, get near that Patrick, not obviously that blowout game, but that Patrick Mahomes 30-plus point level. Drew Brees at home, no question about it. And if you're going to pair Drew Brees with Ted Ginn and Kamara, or even Ted Ginn and Michael Thomas, I mean, those are the 2. But that's only because, like you said, I feel like it's going to be those 2 options for most everybody. Let me go get Mahomes. If I don't get Mahomes, the obvious is drop down to Foles, because do you really want Goff against the Cowboys defense? No. Do you really want Tom Brady the way that he's looked and the way the Chargers defense is playing? Hell, do you want Tom Brady, period?
Well, I might, is the thing. Because I think the Patriots win. The world is against the Patriots. Always a nice spot to load up on the Patriots. And the problem with Foles is I don't know who to play with him. So I think that your quarterback this week is really going to be dictated by who else that you have in your lineup. Like, if you take Zeke, it's hard to play Dak with him. You can, but the overall upside of your lineup is sort of mixed up because at his peak, Dak Prescott is scoring touchdowns on the ground, and therefore Ezekiel Elliott is not scoring touchdowns. So with Brady, if I'm going to play Edelman and I'm going to play James White, I would figure that those guys score their touchdowns through the air, thus directly correlating with Tom Brady. And I don't think that anyone's going to play Tom Brady.
To your point, yes. But I'm on the other side I don't think he has a big game. But if he was, what you just said that's the exact trio I would put together. I would put a Brady, White, Edelman stack together. Hell, if I'm feeling frisky enough, I might even throw Gronkowski in there just in case he shows up for Gronkowski playoff touchdown time.
So who are like the cross-offs here of guys you're not playing? Like, you wouldn't play Dak as a 7-point dog against a pretty crappy Rams D?
I'm not touching Dak. I'm not touching Goff against that defense. I really have a bad feeling that Goff has not only been not Goff that we saw before Cooper Kupp's injury, especially towards the end of the year. We've seen he was looking back to almost rookie Goff, not quite as bad, but he's been showing a lot of flaws recently. And I don't know if he needs Kupp that much. Maybe he was just not confident without Gurley back there, despite CJ Anderson doing whatever it might be. Goff looks like he has issues. And the way that Cowboys defense is playing, I don't want Goff. So those are the 2 that I'm definitively crossing off. And as much as I think Rivers and the Chargers can win that game, if they do, it's not going to be because of Rivers. So I don't want Rivers in New England either. I'm not using him.
I guess the biggest thing is that Colts and Chiefs game is projected to score 6.5 more points than any other game on the slate, which leads me to believe that Andrew Luck is going to be the highest owned quarterback because he's $800 cheaper than Mahomes. That maybe the move is to just take both of those guys if you're building lineups and just stack that game and see what happens.
It definitely could be. I can tell you a stack that people probably won't pay for because it's so much, but you want to throw together.
Thomas, Kamara, Breeze?
Oh, no. That was one of the other ones. I actually tinkered with one of those. I was just recently tinkering before we came on the show with a Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey stack.
I think a lot of people will play that either way, and they'll bring it back with T.Y. Hilton and just punt the rest of the positions.
I could see that too. I think, but that's the thing is don't bring it back with T.Y. Hilton, and that will differentiate your lineup enough.
Yeah, you could probably bring it back with Hines in that example and get the 3,300, get a Colt in your
At
lineup.
Ted Ginn.
And then Ted Ginn. Yeah, you would really have to be. Well, you could kind of structure it in a way. I guess you would have to have Tyreek Hill, and if you use Naheem Hines, if you did the triple stack, Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill, brought it back with T.Y. Hilton and Naheem Hines, you could then have like Gallup and Tyrell Williams. That would save you a lot of money. Maybe you'd have to use Darren Sproles in there or a cheaper tight end, or maybe use Ebron instead of Hilton and then pay down at receiver again. I'm not sure, but that's a method to unlocking that stack if you wanted it.
And you obviously, that would be also probably go with what I was saying before about a contrarian Zeke Dallas Cowboys stack together, because to pair those two together, and the fact that bad golf shows up and they possibly get 2 or 3 turnovers.
You could see that, and you could always do that thing where, since that's the first game on the slate, you could just take a picture of your lineup and you're like, hey, I'm winning GPPs, and you can pretend like you won. That's half the fun. It's like when people play the Millionaire Maker in golf and just take the 6 guys who are the first 6 guys on the course. Then they brag about being in first place.
And then get all followers. Hey, this is why you should follow me and my advice.
Yeah, buy my picks, $1,000 a tournament. It rarely works out that way.
If only people didn't do that.
Yeah, well, people do it, and apparently people fall for it. I have no idea. Tight ends. Kelsey's the most expensive. He's $7,000, like you mentioned, as a part of that giant stack. Ertz is only $5,700. Ebron, $55. Gronk down at $46. Then it's a huge drop off. It's another $800 down to Blake Jarwin, who might not play. I guess I should have mentioned, like, Cole Beasley's not practicing right now either with this ankle injury.
Right.
I'm guessing he plays, but what about Jarwin? Do you think he goes?
I don't know that he does, and I don't know that I'm really interested if he does at this point. I guess like the Rams, tight ends wise, you're hoping for a touchdown if you're getting in this range. That's it. And if you hit the touchdown like Dallas Goedert last week, good for you. Do you really want to spend $3,400? Like, my point about this is look at Jarwin at $3,400 and then drop down into the 2000s. Why are you going to Jarwin?
Yeah. So let's reverse this then. We'll talk about the top guys last, because is there anyone under the top 4 that you can actually see yourself playing? Like, let's say Hunter Henry plays. Would you play him?
No, because everybody's going to play him.
Okay.
Yeah, Hunter, he's going to be stupid owned. And the fact is, he's going to be on a pitch count. They still have Antonio Gates. There's still going to be a mix out there. How many snaps does he really play? This is what I was saying about Dallas Goedert, is you're hoping for a touchdown with him. But the problem is even if you get that, because of his ownership, because people are going to be all gaga over Hunter Henry, he doesn't need to only score a touchdown. He has to have a huge game. And the snap count, I just don't see it being, not to mention the fact I don't think Phillip Rivers is the why they win this game. I don't know how many times I have to say that. So in this range, I think the only ones I would look at, obviously you could go to Goddard again. And I think a lot of people are going to worry about the Saints and how they've played tight ends this year. And they have been really strong against tight ends, but that's more so because wide receivers has such an easy time against them, especially in the slot. So I think Goddard makes for an interesting, why not just go back to him again? I don't think people are going to go that crazy over him scoring a touchdown last week. Or on the flip side of that, the Jarwin one is go to Gerald Everett and hopes Gerald Everett scores a touchdown.
It would be Gerald Everett. Like, Dalton Schultz played more snaps than Blake Jarwin last week anyway, because of the injury. So it looks like it would be Schultz, because I don't think Swain was back yet, was he? He wasn't.
No, I don't think so either. I think Swain is out.
He's done. I know he had the wrist injury. I didn't know if he was eligible to return at some point. I hadn't seen any updates on him recently. But I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah, Everett's playing more snaps than Higbee, and he does seem to be the one utilized in the passing game if they're actually going to pass to a tight end. So it'd be Everett as a punt, Goddard as a punt, and I think that's probably it for me from down there.
Yeah, the only other one in this range would be like Mo Alley Cox, scores touchdown.
I guess so. So if we go up, Kelsey, Ertz, Ebron, Gronkowski. You got to pick one, because that seems to be what you got to do. I would guess that Ertz is going to be the most popular only because of the pricing. Maybe it ends up being Ebron again. I don't know. But should you just find a way to get Kelsey into your lineup?
I'm trying to, at all costs, basically. It's just trying to find a way to get Kelsey in there, because the Ebron has been great, and he's been great this entire season. But at the same time, is that price right being by Zach Ertz is like, I mentioned it. Well, the Saints have been great about tight ends, but why wouldn't you just pay the extra $200 to get Zach Ertz with Nick Foles and the way that they're playing? Because there's so much more upside that Zach Ertz has another 8 catch 110 yards type of game. Like Ebron is touchdown dependent, and he's been producing touchdowns all year, and there's no doubt about it. But I just don't see why you wouldn't just take Ertz. So I'm trying to find a way to get Kelsey's. Again, I mentioned earlier with your talk about Tom Brady, if you want to go contrarian for somebody that could show up at any given time, Rob Gronkowski at 4,600 is, I hate to say it, he's going to be in a few of my lineups.
It's an interesting situation with the Patriots coming off the bye week too, because the bye week helps them the most of any team.
Oh, there's no question about it. And for everybody who wants to complain about the NFL loving the Patriots, is that the Chargers have to play the early game again.
I mean, West Coast coming east, the Patriots have been good. I mean, the Chargers have been excellent on the road, but the Patriots have been especially good at home versus the road so far this year. And now you give them a week to prepare. And it's funny, Jeff, Tim, and I were talking about, like, where are the Patriots actually better than the Chargers at this moment? It might be just special teams and head coach, but that might be enough.
I think the quarterbacks are pretty equal. And Tom Brady in his worst season is still Philip Rivers.
This season by himself, Philip Rivers has been better than Tom Brady, though.
Yes, true.
So it's difficult. Let's move to defenses to close this out. What do you see in here? The Saints are the most expensive. The Eagles are the least expensive on the slate. I probably wouldn't touch either one of them. Maybe the Saints. If I'm just really looking at it, and I can't find the one that really stands out to me. It might be the Cowboys at 2,200.
That's what I was going to before. Is I think the Cowboys are a very fun pick, not only because they're 2,200, but because they have the upside of Jared Goff going sideways. And it's not just Jared. They can get after the quarterback too. And for as good as the Rams offensive line in general it still has been susceptible at times to giving up pressure to the quarterback and sacks to the quarterback. And again, you're just looking at the way that this defense is playing. There's the opportunity here for this team to score 15 fantasy points, 20, even if things really go bad. And for $2,200, that's ridiculous to have that kind of potential. In the middle range, again, the Chargers are fine. I don't think I'd really want to, play that against the Patriots if I'm wrong about the Patriots, which is very conceivable. But on the flip side of that, that's where, you know what? Philip Rivers can always go sideways himself. I mean, he didn't look that great last week in their win. He throws 2 picks. That Patriots defense starts forcing the issue with, the fact they're up by 2 scores, and all of a sudden Philip Rivers is throwing his mind out the door. Then, I think the Patriots are intriguing. I don't love a lot of the defenses this week, obviously.
I think I'll end up going with the Chiefs or go with the Cowboys. And the Chiefs play isn't because they're good, because clearly they're not, but they just might see the most volume against. And Andrew Luck, no stranger to turning the ball over.
Yeah. And but the obvious downside there is if this turns into a shootout and we all of a sudden have 38-35 as the final score.
Yeah, 38-35 isn't the end of the world if there's a Tyreek Hill punt return or one of the touchdowns is scored off a turnover, something like that. I think that's going to be the game, and maybe the Saints is the way to play this, because I just want whoever's facing the most pass volume against. And I think the Colts or the Eagles throw the ball the most this week.
Well, plus to go back to the Chiefs real quick, you mentioned Tyreek Hill. That's how you double up Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs defense and basically get a kick return.
That's risky bizzo. So like I mentioned, the giveaway this week, like the episode, leave your DraftKings handle. Tell me which defense you would play on this slate, because as you can tell, Jake and I are having a tough time to wrap our minds around it. Like, one of them is going to be a slate breaker. I wish I knew which one it was going to be.
You need a graphic and like a voiceover, like slate breaker.
I can make that. I'm going to write that down. Slate breaker
graphic.
The slate breaker.
Yeah, you need like that old 90s voice and graphic coming in. Yeah.
I'll go to like the local exhibition and see if I can find the monster truck announcer guy. See if he can come in. I'm sure there's some sort of app where I can say it and just modulate my voice to sound like. I can even do my best impression of Sunday. And
there you go. That's
really.
Hey,
I'm not deep enough for it though.
No, but you can find them. I got a voice modulator for my podcast to make the 8-bit robot sounding voice.
No, so there we go. So they're out there, I guess. I just have to find them. Before we get out of here, Jake, as we were talking, the FSTA shortlist for the industry awards have been finalized, and I see your name up there. Best social media, you're a finalist because it's been whittled down. I did not make the cut for that one. Best analyst, Jake Ciely. Best new rookie of the year, The Athletic. It's all coming up for you here.
Yeah, it's coming up roses. Did you make it? Please tell me you made the video shortlist.
I did make the video shortlist. Yeah. So Thank you everyone out there for getting your votes in. We'll see if it's been whittled down to 4. Hopefully one of mine hopefully the strength of the Mayo Knights, the fans of the Pat Mayo experience, are enough to topple who's up here against me. Oh, good.
Oh, we actually have all-in ones now too.
Oh, good. Matthew Berry's up against me, so I'm not going to win.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
That's tough. I just don't have that audience.
No, but I smashed the votes for you, so hopefully something will help. And I told everybody to do the same. I was gonna say we have ones. Remember, I told you they were trying to come up with celiacs. We actually got one. It's not that. It's all inmates. So you can say like all inmates or all inmates. So there you go.
Yeah, but if you do hashtag all in, isn't that like the Clemson thing?
That's what I said. I didn't realize that they added their little stupid paw to it. I found that out during that night when I was tweeting about something else and put all in, and the little thing showed up. I was like, what the hell?
You need to bribe Twitter so you can get like your face up there now.
My face, no.
Get
blocked.
We're going head to head here. The Athletic and DraftKings are facing off for best app.
Ooh.
I've never used the Athletic
just
app,
us
so no. The ESPN, Roto World, and Yahoo are all up there as well.
Oh, we're screwed anyway.
No, DraftKings is going to win for sure. DraftKings, great app. I really only use the app for DraftKings.
Hey, look, you're not wrong. I'm just saying, like ESPN. I mean,
best podcast, All in Sports finalist.
There you go.
You're going up against me in that one, so watch yourself. But again, hey, the funny thing is we can talk about the short list and try to like pat ourselves on the back, give ourselves a real Barry Horowitz here. But ESPN wins these awards every single year.
It's like an ESPN take. I had Mike Wright, the fantasy footballer. He was on my podcast, the All in Sports podcast, and we were talking about it after the show, and we were saying what they were up for, and he was running down the list of things they lost to ESPN last year.
They actually won the Humanitarian of the Year. I believe Dinkmeyer won it last year. So the fantasy footballers as a collection are the Humanitarians of 2018. So congratulations to Andy, Mike, and Jason on that one. That's probably the best award to win. They're doing real stuff.
It is. And we talked about that too. And they're saying, you know what? The sad thing is Scott Fish should have put his name in because he should have won it. But, it's hey, they did a hell of a lot for cancer research. We talk about the footballers, but Scott Fish with everything. I did one of the shopping sprees for him on that whole Fantasy Cares thing. So it was fun. I'm surprised he wasn't in it.
All right.
He got Person of the Year, though.
He did from The Athletic, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say he's winning awards left and right and doing great work. So shout out to Scott Fish and shout out to the footballers for their great work. Andrew Dinkmeyer, it's not like he stopped doing humanitarian work this year.
Are you sending any representatives down there? Because I know you're not going.
I cannot go. I'm not sure who's being sent from. I mean, Mayo Media Inc. will not be represented. So.
Because I was going to say, if you win one, can I accept it on your behalf?
You know what? I will give you the honor of accepting an award on my behalf. So don't hold your breath on that one.
I'll give you you can accept mine.
Yeah, we can accept the same amount of awards for each other on this. Anyway,
exactly.
All In Podcast, The Athletic, and on Twitter at AllInKid. Are those the three things that people need to know about, plus your Patreon?
Oh yeah, patreon.com/allinsports. Yes, and baseball season's coming up for that. We actually do that too for all those people out there that are complaining already. I can't believe you're talking about 2019 rankings. Football never stops.
Yeah, football never stops, and I'm not doing baseball. I think I'm going to get like Gary in to cover baseball on the show, so I just don't want to listen to baseball, to be perfectly honest with you. I want to have nothing to do. I want to come in for the win total show, and that be about it. I don't even know who's on like which team now.
You haven't missed a whole lot. There's still a ton of free agents sitting out there for some reason. Everybody's slow to, well, not some reason. Baseball teams are finally being smart.
Bryce Harper hasn't signed yet?
No, and I don't know the Nationals. I don't know if somebody tweeted that out today. If they sign him, it's not just $35 million a year. They would get hit with the third-time luxury tax, which would make his contract technically about $50 million a year.
Fun. Oh, that definitely sounds worth it. I saw Grandal sign like 1 year, $18 million with Milwaukee.
$18 million. Yeah, after turning down 4 years, $60 with the Mets. So it's the teams are being smarter, but there's still plenty of nonsense going on.
All right, Jake Ciely at All In Kid. Good luck with the awards and enjoy yourself in Florida if we're not talking. Before then, I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All my work up on DKPlaybook.com. Like the show, leave your DraftKings handle. Tell me which defense you would play for a draw for $20 DK. If you enjoy getting into draws for $20 DK, I suggest you check out Wednesday's show, the spread picks, and Friday's show where we talk about head coaches. That's a lot of fun. Plus, subscribe to the audio podcast because that is where the Golf Listeners League will preside first to give yourself the best shot of getting in this week because it sold out within, I think, 2 hours last week. So 72 hours before lock, the tournament was full. So you'll want to subscribe to the audio podcast to make sure that you get into that. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck in the divisional round. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!